many things that we could do before that to increase the chances or just to validate some assumptions, right? Like what you were saying, just hopping into some Facebook groups, finding a community and just give them a prototype to see what they think about it, things that we could improve on the product. So yeah, this was kind of like a reminder to do more of that, you know? So yeah, I liked it. I'll give it, I think, what was it? Is it?
So the way it was written?
Yes, the way it was written, and then what the book overall, and then the third one was
How it
impacted
impacted
me.
you. Yeah.
Yeah. So I will say that how it impacted me, I'll give it an 8.5. How it was written, I'll give it a 7.5, and overall I'll give it an 8.
Or 8. Okay. Awesome.
Yep.
So Todd, you wanna go next? Do you
Sure.
know? Do you understand how we evaluate the book, right?
No, I don't.
So to give you a little explanation, so we evaluate the book in 3 parts. One, how it was written. Second, how it impact you, and then overall. And we evaluate from 1 to 10. So 1 is being the worst, 10 being the best. Okay.
Okay. And the how it was written,
plus you can
like
of
how,
course talk about any like highlights that you want to talk about, you know.
Right. And so the how it was written is like just how easy it was to like
Digest,
follow along and flow through it rather than trying to like, you know, like I think Stefano and talked like when we read Shoe Dog, like it was one of those you just couldn't put down. Like it was just, you know, that was a book that I haven't been able to just like put down in a long time or whatever. So, okay,
right,
I got it. Yeah, so we talked about the discover part of the A/B testing. I really like the pivoting aspect of it as well, like because we do that A/B testing and we do this and that or whatever. And like I've had a product in the past and I have a new one that also, you know, I've put it in a box for myself, but realized like, oh my gosh, like, you know, something for home organization that you realize, oh my gosh, this could work for a pet. And you like, it's completely different, or something in the sporting goods that could work for a hospital or something like that. Like it's some of those things that I think, especially as the owners or the parent of our babies, these products or these brands or whatever, we get so focused on thinking this is what it is. And we don't realize like, hey, there's more outside of there. So that was really impactful for me in terms of as I'm developing stuff and doing testing or whatever, even though I'm doing testing, not to actually put my testing people in a box either, like really just look outside of any kind of weird feedback I get from somebody and think about, oh, that's interesting. Let me kind of run down that rabbit hole a little bit just to see if there's a better way to make this product, or maybe there's a whole nother product or brand to piggyback on top of it. I think the last chapter, like about the implementing it and stuff, at first I was like, yeah, I don't really work for a big team like, you know, like Quicken or, you know, Intel or whatever. But then I realized like it doesn't really matter, because like we all have partners or we all have people that we're working with, even if it's just a VA. Like the way we have to communicate to them to get them on board is, you know, the more bossy we are, which is definitely a problem in my thing. I just want to get shit done and I move quickly. And so like being able to be a better communicator to sell the idea and to be a leader to make it happen was something I think I'm gonna have to read the last chapter again, because I was kind of hustling through it to get done for tonight. But I really need to kind of think through that of how I can be a better leader, communicator to sell the idea of, hey, we're gonna go in this direction with this product, or hey, I don't think, you know, like you think we should have a logo on it in this position and it should be that color, and like it's not that big of a deal, but like you want the cohesiveness so everybody's on board no matter who it is and how big your team is. So but yeah, that was the main stuff. How it was written was good. It was some of the case study examples seemed like they were a little long. Like they didn't need to be that. They could have been a little shorter. He got the point across.
Right.
But impacting me, I think I was pleasantly surprised actually, because I have 2 new brands I'm working on, and they both one's more of a niche thing, one is actually patented, and so they're kind of different in that I can really think through some of this testing, and then also look at there's a lot of opportunity for pivoting, I guess, that was really kind of just spoke to me in terms of, okay, as you're developing these things and they're still so new, like really look for the pivot points, really look for the pivot or the supplementary thing to build another brand out of it. And so how it was written, I would give it like a 7.5 overall, an 8, and impacting me personally, I'd give it a 9. I think it was more impactful than I thought it was going to be.
Nice. You just remember, you just made me remember, I had a conversation today with this guy who is essentially like a crowdfunding consultant based in Spain. And I was actually interviewing him for the podcast, and that strategy seems to be a really great way to just validate something, because you're validating the whole thing. You're validating the product, the sales channel, the marketing materials, everything. So as you were talking, it just came to mind, and I don't know, I thought that was a really cool, or it can be a really cool way to just implement all this stuff.
Awesome. Cool. Let me start with mine. The biggest takeaway for me was the part when they say why to innovate, and it's to predict uncertainty. And I totally agree with that. If you don't innovate in your business, and in our business in e-commerce, there's so much uncertainty if you don't anticipate the changes, and it can basically put you out of business in no time, So we have to constantly innovate in our products, in our processes, in our people. Everything needs to be innovated. I think it's you just have to be part of your day-to-day processes. You need to constantly looking for what you can do in your business to better and faster. So the way it impact me, I would give I would say 8. The way it was written, I didn't like it much. It was a lot of dragging, a lot of back and forth. I think sometimes it can be put it easier way, easy read. So I would give it like 6.5. And the concept is great. I love the concept. I understand the concept, and I think it's important concept. Now the way it was written, it was just not sticky for me, and overall I would give a 7. So one of the things is also, I like it, he says, innovation should be a common practice in observing, questioning, experimenting, networking, and associating. I think all those 5 parts are very important in your business.
Yeah, on that access too, I was just thinking, like, we talked about the pivoting and the innovate or the whatever, but like, I think that's a really good point that you bring up, is as we're innovating and also looking for opportunities to pivot or to duplicate, and without doubling the work, that protects us. So if we develop a product, but we have 2 kind of variations of it, maybe like one in pet and one in home organization or whatever, if one goes bad, we got the other one to back up. We're not completely out altogether. If 2 are going great, then that's super. But if one goes bad, then we have that protection on the other side, versus just having all of our eggs in one basket, and our listing gets shut down or whatever it may be, that we have some backup. So that's I think developing that idea further based on what you said is it's very intriguing.
That's part of the diversification, you know, to not
Mhm.
put everything in one basket. That's a game changer for me. If I would have everything in one basket, I would be long time ago out of business.
Yeah.
So, and in our business and e-commerce, it's a must. You know, you have to be diversified.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, overall, again, the book is worth of reading. You know,
It definitely was. Like, it wasn't the greatest of books in terms of the reading, but some of the ideas and concepts it sparked in me were, definitely more than I expected. So I'm glad I did it.
cool. Stefan, I don't know if you want to add something else.
Yeah, I would just like to open it up and ask if anything comes to mind as to how you would kind of in the next maybe couple of weeks implement something out of this book. If as you were reading, you were like, all right, this is how I'm going to implement this thing in my business or in my personal life.
That's a question, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I'm constantly thinking about the innovation, but now we're using the word innovation because that's in the book, but I'm constantly thinking how to better my business, you know, so it's part of innovating. So that's something I've been doing on a constantly basis, you know, so it's not something new that I'm gonna do, but it's definitely a must, you know. I have to sit down and see what can I do better in my business, how I can innovate, what else I can do to continue growing or sustain the growth, you know. I don't know, Todd.
Yeah. For me, the one brand I'm most focused on, I have a solid product. It's more about the implementing and the leadership part on that side, and just getting the main guy who has a lot of the control of the manufacturing and the patents and trademarks and stuff, getting him on board, because he doesn't have a sales or e-commerce background, so a lot of it's just like I'd say things and I'm just like, I think he's pushing back, but he's not pushing back. He just doesn't know. He's like, and so like I have to do a better job at that. On the other brand, I think, it's just looking for products or the way that people use things to incorporate them differently than, what's already out there, and then being able to, use some of these new ways. Yeah, like he was talking about influencers and brand ambassadors and all that sort of stuff, and like I really need to do a lot more of that in both of the brands, and so that's going to be part of the innovating. I mean, even though it's not new stuff for me, it's innovation because it's a whole new way to spread the word about my brand or my products or whatever.
Yeah, it's innovation in marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Yeah. In my case, something that comes to mind, something that I think I benefit a lot from doing is just setting aside time to kind of just research and see what the competition is doing, or maybe what other brands in the industry are doing. Literally just seeing, maybe Kickstarter, or maybe just seeing the competitors and what products are they launching, why, and seeing some trends and maybe reading some magazines and stuff. And I think it's easy to just do that once and then get an idea and just run away with it, and then not doing it again for too long. So I want to just get on a habit of, keep doing that. So
One of the things
and even
that,
though go ahead, sorry.
yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, innovation wise too, even though his book was very up to date with like, Amazon fulfillment and brand ambassadors and stuff like that, it's still not new enough with the AI stuff coming out. So really, innovation wise, like I'm still just drinking through a fire hose with that stuff. Like, how do I use this? How do I stay ahead of the game? How do I, be that 0.01% of the world that's using it and the rest of them aren't, then not just in my, not just in life in general of, how to plan a trip, but actually how to, run my business, run my life.
This is one of the things that I also want to point out now that you mention it, also the ChatGPT. We have to be careful, we as an e-commerce people, to not spread too thin. There's so many things going on that you're trying to keep up with all the innovation. It's just, it's practically impossible, So we have to have sometimes some clearless vision, and not to spread too thin in our own businesses. Again, I done it, so that's why I want to point that out.
Nice.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a big problem of mine. I get too much shiny objects, too many good ideas, and I just end up piddling around in like 50 ideas and don't move any one single one forward fast enough, and so like that's part of like kind of this summer for me is I stopped working on basically 5 other brands or product ideas, and I'm just focusing on 2 and just doing it. And it drives me crazy. Like I've only been doing it for like a few weeks, and like it's just I can really feel like, oh no, I want to read this, I want to look at this one or whatever. It's like, nope, stay focused just on these.
Right.
Get this going, get some traction, not to use that book name or whatever, but get some traction and going so you can open up more time to then go to those. But like it's got to be, you have to do some triage, you have to do it in order and figure out what are your biggest frogs, like that saying that they say is focus on that every day until you got something to show for it, but don't do a whole bunch of nothing.
All right. All right, guys. Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate Todd, Stefano. We already chose our next book for this month, which is, I think, Extreme Ownership, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's by the Navy SEAL. I already read that
Jocko.
book, but I'm gonna
I've already read it too. But I might put it on the Audible or whatever and just listen to it between now and then just to refresh myself. But
right.
Yeah, he's good. So yeah, it was good to see you guys. I miss you guys. Like I was like, I realized like, oh gosh, the book club. I could see some familiar faces because I don't know anybody out here. So I just kind of by myself. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of glad it was just. I'm glad it was just the 3 of us because it's a little bit more connecting.
Are you planning on coming back soon, or no?
The end of that's like September, the end of August.
Got it. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So.
All right.
That's the plan. All right, guys. Good to see you.
All right.
Good to see you.
All right.
Take care. Good to
See you later. Bye.